I'm Jeremy Bartley, work on ArcGIS Online JavaScript API, and I'm joined by
Sentha, Sivabalan, and I work in the ArcGIS Online team. Welcome to this afternoon's session. We're talking about data, content broadly, and feature layers in particular in ArcGIS Online. So we're going to be looking at apps, maps, scenes, layers, popular content types in ArcGIS, and again, focusing on feature layers. And we'll be going through, exploring all the content types we've got available, how you can access content, how we share content, and how you create content and working with data in feature layers in specific. Content types. So the main content types in ArcGIS Online is layers, maps, scenes, and apps. Layers are your data visualized, and layers put together make maps or 3D scenes, and apps are how you present them. But that's not the only type of content we've got available in the platform. We've got a lot more, as you can see here. Our popular content types in just the past 24 hours, about 8,000 web maps were created, 6,000 web mapping applications, and about 7,000 feature layers. And we've got a whole slew of other content types as well. Now back to layers. Layers power web maps, 3D scenes. We've got many types of layers. We've got feature layers. That's your data with attribute values as well as geometry. And feature layers support editing, and you can style them to visualize them in maps, and you can do operations on the field values, like filtering them, and you can represent field values visually through pop-ups. And we also have tile layers, image tiles, as well as vector tiles for performance. And map image layers are layers that are visualized on the server. So they're drawn using fancy cartography, if you will. And we've got image layers, we've got scene layers as well for 3D visualization. And where do you get these layers? Layers can come from your own tabular data. For example, you can take a CSV and you can publish it as a layer. And layers could come as a result of analyses that you do. And those are just the layers that you create, your own, the layers that are authored by you. Other than that, layers could come from Esri. We've got Esri authored data. And layers can also come from our business partners, offered either publicly or as premium content through the marketplace. So you've got marketplace layers, we've got community maps that are just public or premium, as well as your own layers. And web maps, a web map is a common map specification that can be used everywhere. And web maps contain layers, and they have layers may have pop-ups. And web maps can be used to power applications that tell stories. So the web maps can be very interesting, as you can see here. And we've got web scenes, which are 3D, and you can visualize 3D content at the global scale or at local scales. And web scenes can contain basemaps, 2D layers, as well as 3D layers. We've got apps, which is how you would take your maps and scenes and you can present them to a certain audience, and you can enhance content. Your layers and maps, you can enhance them with media like photos, videos, audio files, text. And you can use all of those to tell a great story. And we've got a whole slew of apps that are available in the platform, configurable apps, the web app builder. And how do you access content? Content may be your own content. Your user generated your own content. You'd access it through My Content. Content may be available to you because it's been shared with your organization. That's my organization's content. And that would be, if it's featured content, you'd find it in the gallery in ArcGIS Online. And other content in your organization is available for you to search and find. And there's also community content from Esri partners. And community content may just be shared publicly, or it may be premium content. And there's content that's shared specifically with you in a group. So somebody's invited you into a group and then added some content into that group. So those are the ways in which you can get to content in ArcGIS Online. And how would you share content with others? So, when you create a layer, you create a map, and when if you want to share it, your options are to share it with groups that are specific users. You can share it with your whole organization, or you can share it with everyone. That's public. If you share it with a group that's been designated for open data, then you would be sharing the information that you add into that group would be made available through your organization's open data site. Now, a very exciting way to share is to share with a group that has update capabilities. So when you create a group, there is an option, the option that you can see at the bottom, which you can check and say, hey, members of this group can update the content that's shared to this group. What that means is that any item that's been shared to that group, it's as though everybody in that group is the owner, almost as though they are the owner of that item. They could edit the item information, like the summary, the description, etc., and they could also edit the data. For example, the feature layer can be edited by everybody in that group. So that's a very convenient way to work as a group on something. And one thing to note is that you would turn this on when you're creating the group, and that's that. You can't change it after, for very good reasons, because everybody who's adding content to that group is adding it with the understanding, they need to have that understanding that everybody else in that group are able to edit the items in this group. And how would you create content? So feature layers, there's like a zillion ways to create feature layers, all this list and more. So you can publish from files. So for example, if you have a CSV, you can publish that, and while you publish that, we'll ask you, do you want to geocode, what fields you want to geocode on, and you may have explicit XY coordinates in that CSV. We could use that as well, so that then that CSV file becomes a layer. You can publish the feature layer from shapefiles, from file geodatabases, from GeoJSON, as well as a feature collection. Feature collection is just a set of features that are stored on the layer itself. So you could also publish from ArcMap, from Pro. You can publish it from or other apps like Maps for Office, through Excel. And you can also create it from other layers. From one layer, you can create another layer. And there are some exciting ways in which you can create new views, and we'll look into them later in the session. You could create them using analyses. And you could also use the REST API directly. It's scriptable, and you can use it directly to create feature layers. So where are features stored? When you create a feature layer, the feature layer is stored in a the data is stored in a feature service, and the feature service is powered by a database. And that database may be on the cloud, hosted in ArcGIS Online. If that is the case, you'd see the hosted as part of the type label on the item. It may be coming from an ArcGIS server you have on premises. And if that's the case, then the data is pulled in from that server and it's presented, and you have to make sure that whoever wants to access your layer also has access to that feature server, that ArcGIS server. And features could also come directly from the layer, not from a database, just directly from a layer as feature collection. You would only use this for very light layers. It's a very performant option, but to be used with care, because there is no big database to support queries. But at the same time, there's no database to access, so it's going to be super fast. So you would use that for the right type of content, if you will. Now, you can also create tile layers, image tiles. You can create them from feature layers. You can create them using a tile package, or you can publish it from desktop or pro with a service definition. When would you use tile layers? When you need performance and you need beautiful visualization. So that's when you would use image tiles. And how do you where do you tile, desktop or online? If you create a tile package, the whole tile package in desktop, you could easily publish from that in online. Or you can create a service definition in Pro or Desktop, and you can actually cook the tiles in online. And also you could create a tile directly from a feature layer in online. So we've got vector tiles now in the platform, and that's super interesting because you get the performance of image tiles, but at the same time you have some flexibility in how exactly you're going to render the content. So you can change the visualization. So that's the exciting part about vector tiles. And you can create them in ArcGIS Pro by creating a vector tile package, and you would share it with ArcGIS Online, and then you could publish it. Now we support multi-layer base maps as well. So you could take one of the base maps that we have, or maybe you have in your organization. You could layer other types of layers on top of it. For example, of the imagery layers, map image layers. You can use OpenStreetMap as well. You could put all of them together and create a new base map. So that's a easy way to customize an existing base map for your own organization or for a particular project. Now, working with data in feature layers. So what can you do with a feature layer? So you could use, feature layers have attribute data, fields, and records. And the attribute data, you can use them to create filters. For example, you have a whole bunch of records, but then you want to narrow it down to just a certain set. So you could use filters to do that. And you can style that using smart mapping. So you can have different visualizations of that data. And because feature layers have field information, you could use that field attribute information to search. And you can also animate it through time if there is time data in that feature layer. Now, feature layers support attachments, and attachments are stored in ArcGIS Online in the cloud. And feature layers also support relates. So you could have relates with other tables. And we have a really nice user experience now where you could navigate to the related records right from your item detail page for that layer. So working with feature layers, so when you have a feature layer, the advantage is that it's supported in across the entire ArcGIS platform. All of our apps support feature layers, and there's a REST specification that comes with it. And as a developer, you can work directly with the REST API as well. Or you can work with one of our JavaScript API or other APIs to work with feature layers. And feature layers support editing and also analysis. So if you want to take the data that's in your feature layer and you want to export it, you can export it as shapefile, CSV, file geodatabase, and GeoJSON right from the item detail page. Now, there's also an extract data analysis tool that supports more formats and additional functionality. So you can clip a particular area in the map, and then, or it could be something that you draw, or it could be something that's defined by another, another feature layer has the geometry you want to clip by, and you could extract one layer or multiple layers into one file. So it's lots of capability in terms of you've got your data in your feature layers, now you want to extract it and send it for a particular purpose. And we've got a whole slew of analysis tools as well. And using analysis tools, you could create layers. And you would do that by, we've got spatial operations, network operations. You could use all of that to understand you would do analysis to understand patterns in your data. And then once you have something, then you could, you have a layer that you could use as to share the result of your analysis. When you have a feature layer, often you've got data, you uploaded it, but now you've got some updates to that data. You could overwrite the data very easily. if you have updates to your data. And if you want to add fields, if you want to calculate a field based on field values of some other field values, you could do that. You could delete them. You could change domain values. For example, you could say that this field can only have these values. Domains and subtypes are supported, and feature templates as well.
Hey, Sentha, maybe just stop right there, and I'll show one thing. Actually, how to get to that point. So from the feature layer, at the very bottom, you'll see this URL. If you open this URL, it takes you to the services directory of your server, of your hosted feature service. And if I change the URL to REST admin, now I've gone into the admin API for this hosted feature service. The admin API lets you do things like add to the definition of the layer, update it, delete things, and so forth, both at the service and at the layer level. So you could come in here and update the fields, like let's say I wanted to update the field alias or enable domains on this layer. This can be done from the admin interface. The API reference is within the REST API and administering your ArcGIS Online hosted services and down at your feature service. Now you have to be actually pretty careful with this though, so I would test out what you're going to do on layers that aren't critical to your running system, because there's no going back if something breaks. Now we don't really make a big deal out of this because the goal is to actually have all of what you can do through the REST API just available in the user experience, because that'll be the easiest thing. But if you have particular workflows, you can go ahead and leverage this either directly using the services directory or writing your own custom JavaScript application, let's say, to do it, or the Python API.
Okay. All right. So editing is a lot of the times that's a very powerful functionality for off feature layers. So you can easily enable editing on a feature layer. You would go into the item detail page for the layer, the one that Jeremy showed, and there's a settings tab, and you would go in there and you can enable editing. And once you enable editing, everybody who has access to that item can edit the features. And keep in mind that the owner and the organization admin can edit even if editing is disabled. So that's always there. But if you enable editing, then everybody who has access to that layer can edit that layer. And then there's ways to fine-tune who gets to edit what and who gets to see what they edit and so forth. I'm going to get to that in just a second. There's some additional functionality we've got here. Change tracking is something that's super cool. Jeremy's going to show that later, show a demo of that later. But that's something that you would turn on here. So basically, if you want the platform to keep track of what is getting changed, what are the new features, what are the features that have been updated, and once you do that, it's possible to find out in the past 24 hours what has changed. Or for a given time frame, what has changed in my layer. So that's change tracking. You can also keep track of who edited your data. So you can say what are the usernames of all of the people who edited, who added features, or who edited features. And an additional functionality is to enable sync. If you enable sync, what that means is it's possible to get data from this feature layer and use it in a disconnected mode, maybe even edit it in disconnected mode, and then when people come back into the office from the field, you can sync back the changes. You have a question?
Quick question. Is there any conflict mode? Let's say two people edit at the same time. What happens then?
So there's no conflict detection. It's last in wins. Last in wins editing.
All right, and other editing options that we've got available are what type of editing is allowed. For the whole feature layer, you can say, I only want people who have access to this item to be able to just add new features, or I only want them to update feature attributes, or they can do all the kinds of editing that's possible. And also you can say who's going to see the features. For example, there may be crowdsourcing type scenarios where you want people to put in data, but that's it. You don't want them to see what everybody else is, the work that everybody else has done. So that's possible. Or you can just open it up to, so that editors can see all of the features. You can also fine tune by saying that, hey, can editors edit the features that everybody else has contributed, or can they only edit the features that only they contributed? So those are all ways in which you can fine tune how the editing happens and who can edit what. There's also export data. You can restrict whether data can be exported from this feature layer. So often you need to set up a layer for crowdsourcing. So how would you do that? So you may have use cases where you want everybody to be you want the entire public to be able to access and make edits or contribute data into your feature layer. That would be a public service, and you want it to be anonymous. Or you could have a public service, but then you want to control sign-in so that only signed-in users can edit this feature layer. But you don't know who those users are. As long as they're signed in, that's good. That's authenticated contributors. Or you may say that, oh, only people that I identify need to be able to do this. Participate in this crowdsourcing activity. So based on all of those, what you would do is you would decide how you want to share the layer. Is it going to be public, or is it going to be to a specific crowdsourcing group? And sometimes you may have different sets of requirements. So you may want to share some editing of some fields to a small group, but then some other fields to everybody. So we have a solution for those kinds of scenarios as well. That's views, and I'll get to them in just a bit. Now, once you do those things, then you also need to say, hey, the same kind of editing options that we talked about just a few minutes ago, where you say, what are they going to see? Are they going to see everything that everybody contributed, or only the things that they contributed? Can they add only, or can they add as well as update? So those are some of the choices you make. And then you could also say that, okay, everybody has access to add, and they can only see what they contribute, but then I have this special QA/QC group that needs to be able to go and make changes. So then you could have a QA/QC group that's got the update capabilities. You create that group with update capabilities and add that layer to that group. So all of these workflows are possible with functionality that's available in the platform. So over to Jeremy for a demo.
Cool. Well, we'll try to build some things up and take a tour on some of the things that Sentha just showed. This is the map we had at the plenary this morning, showing fictitious voting of 2 people and the number of votes, and we're rotating it. But I want to work with this data this morning, or this afternoon with this demo. First off, I want to add another field. So the way in the user experience today to add another field to this layer is to actually open the table up as the owner or the administrator of the layer, and go into the table, and you'll see at the bottom you'll see an add field button. So let's add a field called verified. Data verified as the alias, and leave it as a string. Of course, you can do dates and numbers and so on. that's going to add a field to this layer. And we see that there, and it comes in as empty. I can also pre-populate it with data. So from the field itself, I can see the calculate option. Again, I see this because I'm the owner or the administrator. And this is SQL 92 based calculations. So I'll just go ahead and do something, say they've all been verified. I can validate that this expression is good, and then let it run. Now, if you do a, right now this has all 3,100 counties. Let's say I've filtered it down to like say 100, and then did that calculate, it would have only applied to 100. Okay, so now we've got this data in. Let's go to the item details page. In the UC release of from this past year of online, we totally redid the item details page, and we're in the process of redoing actually the entire site, one page at a time. But we paid particular attention to the feature layer page. We wanted to provide access to the data, let people visualize it directly, keep track of the usage for this layer. You can see I've had a lot of usage today. It's been for me practicing for my demo. And also improve how the settings for the feature layer are provided to you. So we have some common things, some general settings like delete and delete protection and extent. But we have some very specific things around the area of hosted feature layers. Before jumping down to there, I'll just do this last one, export data. If you check this box, then anybody who has access to your layer will be able to export it into file geodatabase, shapefile, KML, GeoJSON, just pretty much anything. We've not enabled it by default, and I think most people don't set it because we didn't enable it by default because we don't want you to accidentally give your data away. But let's focus in on editing here. So as soon as I enable editing, we'll see a bunch of questions come up. The same questions that Sentha had in her PowerPoint. Who can edit the feature? What kind of editing is allowed? What features can editors see? What features can editors edit? And what access do anonymous editors have? And who can manage those edits? So pretty sophisticated. You have a fairly fine-grained control over the editing capabilities for your layer. And it's pretty powerful. So like if you wanted to do the crowdsourcing example that Sentha said, you could say people can only update the attributes. Actually, for this data set, that makes sense. Counties aren't moving, so there's no point in letting people add, update, and delete those features. I'm also going to turn on keep track of created and updated features and keep track of who created and updated the last features. Okay, we're good. So what does this actually mean once I open this layer up? Well, let's add it to a new map and see. Okay, there I've got my data. I'll go ahead and go to the Edit tab. Feature creation is disabled for all layers. Can't create any new features. But I can touch one of these features and go ahead and edit it. Let's see here. Let's give this a lot more votes. And we see the data was updated immediately. I can also directly go to the table, and because this layer is editable, I can just double click and start editing on any of the attribute values. Now, I think we just edited this guy right here, and we'll see that I actually edited this layer seconds ago. So if you had a number of different users, this editor tracking would keep track of everybody who's editing, when the edit was made, and if you allowed creating new features when the new feature was created. No, it would keep track of, it would show up as anonymous if a non-named user was doing the editing.
Public user.
A public user, or a public user would come through. So it's really only anonymous where you wouldn't get a actual username, just be labeled as anonymous. Also, some little known things that are here. Filter edits. So if you bring a layer that has keep track of who's doing the edits, this lights up, and you can say, since I'm the only one who's edited this, my username only shows up. But let me just look at the things in the last hour. Oh, last hour works because I just turned on editor tracking. But imagine I hadn't just turned it on, then I would have just seen that one feature. Okay.
Calculated fields as well.
And calculated the fields as well, which shows up as the edit. Okay. Let's, for the next part of the demo, let's go ahead and make this a no. They're not been verified. Do we show the views now or later?
Later.
Okay. Was there anything else to show with feature?
That's it.
That's it. Okay. The next part of the demo will come later.
All right. Okay. All right, so this leading up to the next part of the demo, we've got view layers. We'll get to that in just a bit. But from a feature layer, you can create other feature layers. And those feature layers may be visualization layers or view layers. Visualization layers is just the same data that's in the feature layer, except that it's optimized for different visualizations. For example, you've got your feature layer and you want to use it in a performant way, hey, you may want to create a tile layer. If you've got a feature layer and you want to visualize it in 3D, you can publish it as a 3D scene layer. So that's visualization layers. View layers are the data that you've got in your feature layer, except that what you're going to do is you're going to share it, you're going to create new layers so that you can share it with different sets of people to use different subsets of that data, and they can be used differently. So I'm going to go into the details of that. So when you create a view layer, that's a new layer item, and it can be, of course, be shared differently. So that's a simple enough thing, but it's powerful because of everything else that follows. So you can create a view layer and have it only show a subset of fields. So you've got a whole bunch of fields, but then this new layer that you create from it has only a subset of it, or or a subset of features. You can apply a filter on the view layer, and you could also set different layer options. That means editing options, export options. All of those options can be different for this view layer. And when you do that and you share it differently, then that allows you to do things like share certain attributes and certain features publicly versus not. Which is what, yeah, you could it's a subset. Yeah, you could do that. So with visualization layers, you take a layer that's a feature layer and you can publish it as tiles for faster drawing, and scene layers for drawing in 3D. You could make 3D scene layers from points or from multi-patches. With view layers, say you've got this one layer and it's got the data behind it, and then you can create a new view layer from that original layer. In this case, it's a subset of the records. And just picture a scenario where you want to share some features and you want to turn on editing and you want to share it publicly. So that's an example of how you would create a view layer with a subset of features and then turn on editing. That's a layer option that you've turned on differently, and share it publicly as a sharing option. Yes?
With the view turning off the field, would you still be able to find that in the rest of the point?
No.
We'll show that later. Yeah.
Okay. No, you wouldn't. So it's actually watertight. Yeah. And then say you want to say, all right, I created this crowdsourcing item for crowdsourcing, and people have been adding things to it. Now I want to go in and I want to do some QA/QC, clean it up, and then I want to share the output of my crowdsourcing. But I want to turn off some fields that I use for my QA/QC. Yes, like the verified or something like that. Some fields, that's not part of my information model for public use. So I'm going to turn off some fields, and now I'm ready to share. So that's an example of another view layer I created from the original. And then I may create yet another one that is, I want to take all of the content that I generated from my crowdsourcing, and of course sanitize away certain fields that I use for QA/QC. But now I want to make a subset of it to tell a particular story, and it's about a certain neighborhood. So I want to filter on attributes and create a subset that's based on records. And each of these view layers can have their own sharing and other options on them. So over to Jeremy for a demo.
Okay, back on here. Well, it's really hard to see. Added another column while Sentha was talking about whether there was voting irregularities. Good, so this is my source feature layer. And let's go back to the item page and start to create some views. The first view I'm going to create is election results QA. And while this is going, okay, so I got the election results QA. Notice it looks very similar to what we saw before. By default, if I go look at the service, it looks exactly the same as the source feature layer. In fact, if I go ahead and query it, and let's just say do a count, I'll get a big number, 3,100. Now from here, let's go ahead and open this into the map viewer. Oh, one other thing I wanted to call out. So this details section is very handy for you to be able to navigate all of these related layers. So you have your primary feature layer, and then that is where this layer was created from. And this feature layer lets me know that it's hosted. Not only is it hosted, but it's also a view. So let's go into the map viewer again. And since this is for the QA/QC, I want to go ahead and limit it. So now when I go to the layer list, I see at the bottom set view definition, and I have a couple of options. I can define the features and the fields that are visible. Excuse me. So let's define the features. So what I want to say is that the where did it go? Voting irregularities. Data verified is not yes. Okay. Now I've got these two features, because there's only two that actually have data verified no. Sentha, will you get me some water? Thanks. Okay. Got these two, data verified no. So from here, I wanted to actually look at the item details page and, actually come back to this query and query it again. So before it was 3,100, but after I made that change to apply a filter, now it's only 2. So this is Loctite and sealed. You won't be able to get access to anything that doesn't match that definition that I set on the view as the owner of that view. All right, let's go back to the source feature layer and create another view. This is the view for the public. Okay. the services here. I can actually, I'm going to make some changes to what's available in this layer as well, but I'm going to do that from the visualization tab. I think I can do this from the visualization tab. No. That's wrong. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you have to do that from the map viewer. So I'm going to go back to the map viewer and set the definition on this. And in this case, I'm going to define the fields that are available. I'm going to turn them all off except for the name and the 4 votes. Apply it. Back to the item details for this feature layer and view the data tab. I only see those 5 fields that I said were visible. And this applies to the service as well. Just those 5 fields. Okay. Now back to here. I can control not only the settings on this layer, but also who can view it. So I can decide to share this one to the public. I'll go back to my source. I might decide to keep this source one private. But from the source, it gives me both the election results and the election results QA views that I created. And this QA view, I will share to a different set of people. In this case, the election results data stewards. Okay, so we did a lot of things there. We took from our source feature layer, we created 2 views, one for QA, which only showed the things that hadn't been QA'd, and the other for the public, which only showed a certain set of fields. This all points to the same data. So if I update the data in one, it's going to apply it through those other views. Now this may seem like a small thing, but we've actually seen you guys do some very creative ways of doing editing to this feature service that's hosted in online. It's different than if you have a feature service published through your own ArcGIS enterprise that's working with your database. Because in the database, you have full control. You can go in and do SQL directly in the database. You have many different ways you can update that data. You could even publish multiple map services or feature services that have different access constraints but pointing to the same feature class in SDE. By bringing views into online, it allows you to do this, replicate all of these workflows directly in online, but without having to do any of the sophisticated data management techniques. We think this is going to be very powerful and allow you to really have tight control over your data, share it out to who you want it to be shared with, and then control who can edit it separately and all work together. So we're pretty excited to see what you guys do with this.
Yep.
Oh, did we supposed to do the track changes?
Yes.
Yes, okay. One more demo.
Oh, track changes is next.
Oh, next,
Hold
okay.
on. Okay, so we're going to look at projects that are coming up. That's exciting. We are excited to share with you.
Oh no, track changes is there.
Oh, okay, it's already there.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, I'm not going to do track changes on this because it won't make a lot of sense. But this is where you would set it. On this feature service, there's an option to keep track of created and updated features. This is a new enhancement just from last week in online. And to show that, I'm going to show it. We don't have any user experience in ArcGIS Online to take advantage of this, but as a developer, you can take advantage of it. So here's an application that John Grayson in our prototype lab built to show working with the change tracking API. So what the change tracking API lets you do is on a editable feature layer with change tracking, be able to ask at a particular point in time or generation of the service, what has changed, and get those object IDs and the extent of the features that have changed. So let's go to this service in ArcGIS.com and make a couple of edits here. Okay, now let's go back to my app. And from here, let's retrieve the changes that have been made. So it's checking for the changes, retrieving them, and then adding them to the map. This is not really history. This is just telling you what's changed in what particular area. And we're using this for future enhancements in online, which we'll talk about in the future section about keeping tiles up to date, raster tiles up to date. But we think that there's some applicability for you to be able to, have a dashboard of what's going on during the day to see if you have a bunch of people out editing to be able to extract what's changed and highlight those areas on the map.
All right, okay, sorry. I thought
Oh, the last thing is that this app's available on GitHub if anybody wants it. And just look up change notifications on GitHub.
All right, on to the road ahead. So a couple of projects that we want to share with you. One, we are revamping the user experience for group pages, just like we did for the item detail pages. And we also have tiles on demand. Jeremy mentioned that, just a couple minutes ago. So over to Jeremy.
Okay.
Show you the new group page.
Like we talked about earlier, in UC we did a user experience refresh of the item pages. Next is groups and my contents, or the content page. We're farther along on the group page than the content page, but we thought we'd show a few things here. Much like the item page, we went to this new layout for the user experience, which highlights the overview, which gives you the group information plus the latest content that's available. And from there, I can also drill into the full set of content. I can flip between the table view, the list view, and a grid view. From here, I can also easily filter down and find just the things that have happened today. I see the search tips in the search user experience, so I can filter those out. I can also spell it. We may have some bugs there. There we go. As I'm typing, search and find those layers. And this will be a similar experience to what we're aiming for in the area of my content. Not just the date and item type, but also the rating and who it's shared with. What things are shared to the organization, or to just the group, nobody, or to everyone. And then finally, a better way of discovering the members and when they've joined. This group's a little bit stale.
I can show that.
Okay, you show that. Cool.
All right. So this group here is a group that I own, and I'm looking at the members here, and I can filter by date joined, who joined in the last week. Blake joined in the last week. And I can say, all right, there's some new functionality here. I can actually select one or more, actually. I can do bulk operations. That's something that the new feature. And let me do this. Let me find people. Let's clear out this search. So we've got everybody. And I'm going to take a couple of members here, and I want to update their group role. So these 2 members, I'm going to make them admins for the group. So this is new functionality that we are exposing, planning for the next release. So now that Blake and Jane are admins, they can do work in the group as well. They could, they could invite users, and they can do other work, just like me as a group owner can do. So that's some new functionality and better user experience. Very excited about the bulk editing. So you can imagine how powerful that'll be with my content and things like that. So it's new patterns as well that we'll roll out into the rest of the to the website, but beginning here at the group page. Yes.
So you introduced the concept of roles per group. Are these roles like roles that are built in, or the custom roles built in? Is this a separate administration of roles for groups?
It's just group specific, and either a person is just a member of a group or they can administer the group. Just that's it. It's very group specific. It's like, what can you do as the owner of a group? Somebody you select to be the admin of the group can also do those things. So a lot of the times you'll see a common pattern here. As users, you're using the platform and you're coming back and telling us that, oh, we've got these workflows and we need these things to be easier. And the views is one of the ways that we are enabling workflows that are currently out there that we are making them easier. Group administration as well is one of the things that we hear back, where people say that, okay, I'm not the only person who needs to be doing this. I need a few more people to also administer a group. So group admins is how you can work as a team administering a group. So. And of course, there's the settings for the group, and that's in its own tab. You will see an ongoing set of UX refreshes. And we started off with the item detail pages. This is a group page. Some of these same patterns we'll be using for my content, for search, etc.
Cool.
Yes. Change tracking?
I'm not sure. That's not a feature that's definitely not on the 10.5.1 bus. I'm not sure if it's on the 10.6 track or not.
All
right. Okay, I'm going to talk about improvements to working with tiles from features. So here's a feature layer of I think all the storm tracks from all the tornado tracks from 2002 to 2011, 32,000. That's too many features in the current form of the feature layer. But I can publish this as a tile layer. And a couple of things. One is that we've automatically pick the visible range that's appropriate, and this checkbox here, create tiles automatically. So that's the new thing we've added. Whoops. We'll see what this works. So this is publishing a tile service, and you can do this today, but today, once published, you would need to you would need to build actual tiles at the levels of detail that you wanted to see tiles. It'd be a manual step. You would do it. You would do it at the particular levels of detail that you want. Fire the job off, and then in a few minutes to an hour, those tiles would be created, and people could consume that. If this thing ever publishes, I can show the next thing. Oh, okay, there we go. Now I've got this tile layer published. I don't have to do that. I don't have to create the tiles. I will go ahead and look at it just to see that the tiles are being created automatically, and I can look at the current level tile detail. But let's just go directly in and look at this layer in the map viewer. Now the tile layer is in place. Okay, they're not tracks, they're actual tornado warnings. And as I move around the screen, these images are being created on the fly. So those of you who've used ArcGIS Server for a long time we'll remember the tiles on demand capability. This is bringing us a similar capability to online. We want to make it easier for you to just automatically create those tiles. Okay, now let's take it to the next step. Keep tiles automatically up to date means not just creating the tiles once, but means also working with changes as the data changes underneath. So I've got this. This is a pure technology demo here. We've got 2 layers. One layer is a feature layer that's editable, and another layer is a tile layer that has this keep tiles automatically up to date option. And as one is likely to do, you click on polygons like this and you move them. Very common operation, I'm sure. And let's give it a few minutes. I think the refresh interval is set to refresh every 6 seconds. And what we should see is that this tile layer that's underneath should eventually go away. Because this feature right here is the actual feature that I moved, and now the tile has gone away because the tile's been refreshed. Thank you. We worked real hard over the last couple months. We almost got this out in this release, but had to just pull it back at the last minute. So this is definitely something that's going to be coming out at the UC timeframe. And yeah, I don't think there's anything else. Yeah. Well, the undo is there, but only during the current session. I could have undooed it from there if I would have still editing. And yeah, I don't think there's anything else to say on that one. Mm-hmm. Currently, it's when you publish from a feature service. I think I'm not sure, there's a potential that you could enable it after you published, no, it's only when you publish it from a feature service. When you publish from Pro or ArcMap, tiles don't go into our, 2 different workflows and 2 different tile centers, basically. Right. In that case, they're not up to date. Push notifications, that's something where we're working on to enable more social interaction so that when something gets added to the group, you could they could let you know that something's been added there. We're still behind on that, and probably won't get to that until next step summit.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely those are some of the things that we are looking into.
Yeah, no, there's just the one table in the underlying database. It's really like a database view.
There are multiple services.
Multiple services. No, not instances, but there is an actual service that's created, but no instance. There's no extra instances to run that service. It's kind of different. The hosted system is different than a traditional ArcGIS server. So I think that's probably what's getting you. Oh, good question. Actually, we won't let you override it. It won't let you override it if you have dependent views on that. That's a good question, though. Yes, it's tiles on demand. It's same tile costs. We're also, I don't know if we're allowed to say this, but I don't see anybody here interject. We're looking to reduce the cost of tile generation. So when we roll this out, it'll come with the tile reduction in cost. Yeah.
We have an ArcGIS server with hundreds of services on it. Is there any way that like the server could be registered with online so all that content can be discoverable and searchable?
I think you have to rely on outside tools to do that. We don't have anything really out of the box. I don't see us going there.
Not for the next year.
Yeah,
For sure.
I mean, it's a valid concern. Yeah, I mean, I think there's quite a few scripting options for this now, though, and tools like GeoJob admin tools and AGOL Assistant and other things like that. That should help with that.
In the update to content, right now, if you go to groups, you see all the items associated with groups. You maybe find out all the maps and apps that are associated with a layer.
We are working on that. Yes. We are working on that. Soon to come.
What we have now is direct relationships. So like when I created that view layer, that was a direct relationship to the source feature layer. Or if I created this tile layer, that's a direct relationship. So those you can definitely navigate and discover. But we're not quite there yet on finding all of the maps that use this layer and the apps that use those maps and so on. Sorry. Email members?
We'll consider that. We do get requests on that, yes.
I think it would tie into the better notifications, so be able to send a message, and that could include email. Yeah.
With the ability of views, are you looking at possibly replicate services, kind of like a replication model?
Not necessarily with the views, but the collaboration project that was shown in the plenary stage, that was portal-to-portal collaboration. And that replicates data for feature services. We'll eventually, hopefully by UC and 10.5.1, have portal-to-online collaboration.
So you could host a collaboration in online and invite a portal. Just portal to online only, not online to online.
Portal to online, and that would do this replication from portal to
online.
And vice versa.
Once you do create various views and that, where do you see all our is it in the details?
Yeah, in the item details, got one here, I think. So this is the view. It lets me know where it was created from.
So there's a variety of views that you can see.
You'll just see them all, yeah. Like right here, I've got the 2 views. It'll also show me the other things that I've published. If I published a tile layer on this, it will show me that as well. And if we get once the tiles that are automatically updating, you combine that with views, you can get some really powerful combinations where you have raster tiles. Basically, you can create your own OpenStreetMap. Hopefully. All right, I think we're out of time, but you're welcome to come up and ask questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much.